Okay, today my guest is Professor Jane Lu. I'll keep my introduction short to maximize our time with her. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk about Jane as a person, Professor Lu as a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and finally as a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. For the sake of time, I'll skip many of her accomplishments and give you a very quick snapshot. Professor Lu is an AIB fellow. She was a finalist in 2016 at SMS for Best Conference Paper and the 2009 AOM Douglas Nye Memorial Best Paper Award. She was also nominated for Haynes Best Paper Award at the 2005 AIB Conference. She received the Best Paper Award in Emerging Market Research at the 2018 AIB Conference. She also won the Best Paper Award at the 2008 Australian and New Zealand AOM Conference. Jane is among the top 2% most highly cited scientists in management. Thank you, Jane, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Jane, what did you want to become when you were a child?
Actually, in my early childhood, I did not have many choices. At that time, China was like a closed economy. So we had a very broad categories of careers. So like the workers, peasants, and soldiers. So these are the three broad categories. And I was a little bit interested in military life because my father did his military service. And I visited him with my mother at a very young age. I didn't have much memory about that, except a very fierce barking dog. So, but as a girl, I consider was physically challenging to be really, to become a soldier. So at that time, I was thinking among these three categories, to be a worker, and hopefully it's a white collar worker, and stay in a big city. I grew up in Shanghai. So if I could stay in a big city like Shanghai, I think that would be a realistic and ideal career choice. So I didn't have very high ambition, but that's again because of the time periods that at that time.
Sure. And can you remember the first moments or earliest moments of awareness between domestic versus international?
And again, it's related to the time, the particular period of time of China at that time. So I did not have much exposure to foreign products or foreign movies when I grew up. My awareness of foreign came with my undergraduate study. I studied foreign trade. So at the Shanghai Foreign Studies University, a foreign teacher from New Zealand was the first foreigner I encountered. But since then, everything I did had a foreign element.
True. And how did you choose academia?
To me, IB is a very natural choice because given what I did in my undergraduate study, I studied foreign trade, and then also given my work, I worked in like international trade, right? So everything was IB. So IB was a very natural choice, but to become an academic was a difficult choice to some extent. I was to some extent was converted into an academic during my PhD program at Ivey School of Business. Before I entered that program, I did not. I was thinking I do not mind being in academia, but I did not consciously think of becoming a scholar. Because I did quite well in the corporate world, and I enjoyed my work. I enjoyed it's a highly competitive work, and I enjoy the competition and competing to get the deals, and I also enjoy the perks that come with the work. So in the early days, I enjoyed the business class travel. So I always like nowadays I tell students, if you come here for this you want to improve your material life, I don't think that's the way to go. So in the corporate world, you can have much better. So at that time, not only the business class travel, but I also enjoy the endless entertainment, right? So all these banquets and all, especially if you go to the Canton Fair for 2 weeks, from breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all 3 meals will be all almost like all banquets. So
Okay.
I enjoyed the that part. But after 5 years, I became a bit bored. It's like you can imagine as a fresh undergraduate, right? So I enjoy these things, but after 5 years, I became bored. So at that time, I was thinking maybe I need to change a career or something. So at that time, in 1994, I got a offer of full scholarship to do MBA in the China Europe International Business School. But although at that time I had no idea what MBA was, that was 1994 in China, I had no idea. But I was thinking maybe it's good to take some time out and to study, right? So that I know what I want to do in the next stage of my life. So I took the offer, and then I did my MBA. So but again, as MBA, it has nothing to do with research or to be like academic. By that time, I did met some professors from overseas, right? So I guess I was performing quite well academically. So they encouraged me to pursue PhD studies. So that was the encouragement from the professors in my MBA studies. But again, I did not give up because I really like the corporate world. So I think maybe because I was in the international trade and there was the state-owned enterprises, maybe there's so much entertainment. Maybe if I change, so I decided to give another try. So I worked for a foreign bank that was Rabobank. And then I was the head of the corporate finance department. Then I think maybe it'd be different. But again, it was very similar. So then I realized no matter where you are, whichever industry, what company you work for, as long as you want to deals, then there'll be entertainment, right? It's a moderate level is good, but if it's too much, then it's I don't like it. Then and also on the other side, I'm kind of curious person. I learn quite fast, but then I also get bored if I already figure out everything. So I think when I work in the corporate world, I think usually your boss only wants you to do things that you are good at, right? So they don't want you to move unless because it's good for them. So I think I have limited learning opportunity. Then I think academia is better. But even so, when I joined Ivey, I had no idea about what PhD is. One motivation was I had a client from Germany. I noticed on their business card they have doctor, and some people may even have more than one doctor. So doctor. Then I would think maybe if I can also get a doctor that can promote my career in the corporate world. So I initially that was a very naive idea when I entered the PhD program. I was just want to get a title doctor. Then I think that looks very smart in the corporate world from my German clients. Okay, so that. But then once I was in the program, I found I really liked it. So I liked the intellectual parts of the program because we get to read a lot of. I think the one course was reading books. So every class was a book. So reading lots of books, and then we have all these very intellectual discussion, and then we also get exposure to the data and analysis. I think I learned very quickly, and then I think I like it. Then I was converted into the academic rather than was I did not know what I wanted to get when I just started my PhD study.
Interesting. What's something on your CV that not many people would know that you? What would? No, that doesn't sound right. Something that is not on your CV that people might find interesting.
I think maybe because I grew up in China, and as I mentioned, at that time, during the period I grew up, right? So I had very limited career choices, right? Actually, when at that time, when we finished our undergraduate study, you do not have the freedom to choose. You were assigned to companies. You are assigned. So it's not. We do not have the freedom to choose your career. So we had very limited career choices and a very limited exposure to the outside world, and of course had a very limited extracurricular activities. So nowadays the kids have so many activities, right? At that time we have very limited choices. So sometimes I feel my life is a little bit like the movie the life of Benjamin Button. So kind of started the other way around. So I think I start to grow at a much later stage. So not when I like suppose that now the kids like nowadays, you start with all these activities when you were a kid, you get all this exposure, then you make your choices, right? So I started at a much older stage. So when I feel now I started to grow and to do things that people, they usually start at a much younger age. So for example, I very much enjoyed my sabbatical at Peking University. I was so busy at the time. So early from like a morning, like I started to morning run with the students, and then I have tea appreciation, and I started to learn Chinese medicine and all kind of things that you probably could have done at much younger age. And even at the nighttime, I do the martial arts. And so I started to learn these things at a much later stage. And then also I found I have more potential than I thought I had. So because I did not have the exposure to these kind of activities. So I started to do Gobi Challenge. I started to hiking, start to run marathon. So I start doing these things at a much later stage in my life than earlier. Yeah.
Jane, do you have any regrets in life? Something you wish you had done or done differently?
I don't think I have any regrets, because I don't think we can try different paths, right? So I just think I'm happy with whatever I'm doing and whatever situation I have, and try to get the best out of it. If really want to think of any regrets, I think maybe I just kind of I wish I could spend more time with my parents, because in the early days I stayed almost every day with my parents. But then later on I started my Ph.D. and then started to work, and then I was away from China for 20 years. So of course I visit them during these 20 years, but then it's very different from spending time with them in the same city, right? So I and then also kind of I did went back to China in 2017 to work in CEIBS, and in order to spend some time with them. Then 2019, I moved to Hong Kong, because I think Hong Kong, China, Shanghai is so close. It's 1.5 hours by flight. It's very close. But then, of course, I did not anticipate the pandemic. So now I haven't seen them for 2 years because of pandemic. So if you think it's any regrets, I think that would be the regret. But again, that's something I cannot predict.
Sure. What are you most passionate about?
What I'm most passionate about is I really like learning. I like to learn things, and that's one reason I think I prefer academia compared to the corporate world, because I think there's more opportunity for learning. To some extent, I feel I sometimes I do not want to tell people about our profession, because I think that's the best kept secret in the world. I can't imagine we are being paid to explore the things we are interested in. And if it works, that's fine. If it doesn't work, no one is going to punish you, right? So I think I really like what we are doing to explore things that we are curious about.
Sure. Let's switch to research, if you don't mind. How do you explain your research to people who don't read your work regularly, to people you meet on the street?
That's something your question remind me of something that I tried to do about 10 years ago when me and my youngest and we were on a hiking trip, and he wanted to quit. So then I would try to make conversation, to think of things that may keep him interested. So I started to talk about the research papers to him. So I tried to, he was only, I think, about 10-year-old. So I have to think of things that can, of course, I cannot talk in these academic terms, right? Try to kind of make it's kind of like story to him. Mm-hmm. So it's fundamentally, I care. Okay, that's what I care. I won't say I found the solution or the answer to that. I care about how firm can grow profitably, because I work in the corporate world. So I care about no matter whatever strategy it is, whether it can contribute to the firm's profitability. So how firms can grow profitably. So I think that also matters to all people, right? So So, for example, how to make profitable investment decisions, no matter it's domestic or in our context in IB is in a foreign market, how to make profitable investment decisions. So, so for example, like location choices, how to choose, like there's so many countries, right? How can you choose which country to make the investment? So most people will look at the, like say, market potentials, right? You can look at the what's the market size, so you can look at these market potentials. But also, I think for us researchers, we kind of point to people not only need to consider these things, but also need to consider like political risk, the political risk of different countries, right? And for example, also the culture distance. I would not say that the firms need to avoid locations of high political risk or high or very large culture distance, because usually risk and return, they comes together, right? So it's high risk and also high return. So, but the most important thing is for firms to be aware of these challenges and try to be prepared for these kind of challenges for them. They can use certain strategies to mitigate such risk.
Sure. Jane, about omitted variables in IB research or things that you think will be more fruitful in the next 5 to 10 years, things that we haven't studied enough, that we need to explore more of?
That's a very big question. I don't have the crystal ball to tell what's what's going to be a big question for the 5 or 10 years. But again, I can say the things I care about, right? So the things I care about, one is about the sustainability. So again, you earlier asked me about what I'm passionate about, right? So I do have the passion for research and for exploration, but at the same time, I care a lot about the sustainability. So I think we all feel the impact, and then also like I also in my in addition to research, sometimes do social work, right? So that kind of social work, I think, can help to provide environment. I was on a trip to the source of Yangtze River. So that's the largest river, I don't know what in the world, but largest river in China. So to the source of Yangtze River, so it's 4,500 meter above the sea. So it's very high level. So I was there to help to clean the highway there, to talk to the local people, to educate them about the environmental protection. At the same time, also we collected some garbage or these empty bottles or something from the local people. So I was with an NGO called Green River. So we did all of these. So I'm happy to do more things, but also what I mean is I care about the sustainability. So I think that'd be a very promising research question or research area. So, for example, how multinational firms can contribute to the sustainability goal of different countries, and how they can, by investment and by the power they have, how can they improve the sustainability in some developing countries. So that's one topic. And the other topic I personally care about is about economic inequality. So I was a guest editor for a special issue at the Business and Society on the economic inequality. So again, that's how I think the multinational firms, they can contribute to some extent, they may contribute to the increase in the economic inequality, but they can also contribute to the reduction in the economic inequality. So that kind of topic I care about, and I think they're important in the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, looking back 5 to 10 years to the early times when you got your PhD, and now, and thinking about the trends, what can you say about the evolution of IB? Where are we headed to?
For the IB, I think one thing is we can see that certain topics become popular. So I remember when I think it was after I finished my PhD and I published 2 papers on the topic on the multinationality and firm performance. And in 2005 and 2006, we had two symposiums. One is in AIB, the other is in AOM. So it was an interesting format. It was a debate. So we have several professors, including myself. We were on one side. We'll take the position. So there is a relationship between multinationality and firm performance. And several other professors, they said, no, there's no such relationship or something. So it was in the format of a debate. And that was quite interesting. I remember we had a full house, like 5,000 or 6,000 people for this kind of symposium. And the room was so crowded. I felt, wow, that was really hot topic. But now you can see that this topic is we do not generate that many publications in this area. And also in the early days, there are some topics on like entry mode. I also did some studies on the entry mode. So these kind of topics are got a lot of publication, but nowadays it's kind of like not so many studies on the entry mode, right? But I think more recently, there are more studies on the CSR, so corporate social responsibility, and especially, for example, on the political corporate social responsibility, like on the multi-stakeholder initiative, how multinational firms they can through this kind of deliberation, how can they improve the local CSR standards? So I do see the change in the topics, and also for myself, as I explained earlier, I sometimes get bored, right? So if I do one topic, I've published like a couple of papers, a few papers, and I think I've made enough contributions, and I change to the next topic that interests me.
Perfect. Last question in the research segment. Which questions do you think are overly done? There is basically no more mileage in them that we should move away from.
So these are the two I mentioned earlier in terms that you talk about the evolution, right? So I think the topic I contributed, the one is the multinationality and firm performance. So after I published two papers in this area, I feel there's enough being said by me on this topic. I don't want to work on paper than on moderating effects. So I think that's enough. And the other topic is entry mode, right? So again, I feel it's no longer that exciting.
Sure. About the mentoring part, who was your advisor when you were going through the PhD program?
Oh, I was Paul Beamish. Paul Beamish was my supervisor. Yeah.
And what was the best advice you received from Paul?
I wouldn't say one particular piece of best advice, but I think it was more about his role model. First of all, I really think he's someone with great foresight, not only about the topics. So I think he has the sharp eyes for the hot topics. I think he's the best person to ask about hot topics. And the second, he also has the sharp eyes for picking very promising scholars on my committee. So I have Amy Hillman on my committee, and have Dren Island on my committee. So he somehow got an all-star committee members for me. So that's one thing about his foresight. And the other thing is about his role model. So I think he had so in terms of role model, one is about his work ethics. And the second thing is about he's really all-rounded. So it's not just research, it's also his passion for teaching and case writing. And I think these, and of course, also service. So this kind of all-roundness, I think it's very important, the role model for me. So that's why I also that's also partly of the Ivey training. So I really appreciate the Ivey PhD program. So we not only need to usually in a we call a qualifying exam, we were being tested for research, right? But in Ivey's qualifying exam, so we also need to be tested for teaching in terms of the curriculum development, then also service to review papers. Then we also have like a full year, they call the teaching group meeting to discuss with the professors how to teach cases. So that's a whole year meeting. So again, Paul himself, he also wrote I don't know how many cases, so many cases. He still updates me with his new cases. So I think this is his role model that's really inspiring to me.
Interesting. When you talk to young scholars, PhD students, or junior faculty, what common mistakes do you see that these people have? Things that you think that they should do and they should not do. What can you say about that?
I think that there are about maybe two things, but these two things are connected. One is, I think that again, I have to say these are the PhD students I have encountered. So maybe because of different geographic area, I'm not sure what can be generalized. Okay, so that's I can only say based on what. One, I think it's they take a very instrumental approach. They treat this as a career. So to me, it's to be a scholar. I think it is a career. We do make a living. I'm not saying that we just do the research. We do not make a living. So it is a career. But I think there should be something beyond a career. You should have some passion for the topic that they want to research. So what I mean is a curiosity and the passion for research beyond the making a living. Treating as a career. So, but most people, they put a career first. And the choice they want to enter the PhD program is because they think maybe it's an easy career or there's something they think they can do well. So they put a career first. The problem with if you put this career-oriented mindset is people tend to kind of try to cut corners, right? People like to find the shortcuts. So I always tell my PhD students that I personally entered the PhD program at a relatively later stage because I worked for 6 years. I do not regret that at all. So, but compared to the current PhD students, they enter PhD program at a much younger age. So they should have, in theory, have a longer career, right? I said, you should find something you can sustain you for a long time. It's not just one paper. You should think of something you really care about, can sustain you for at least 10 years. I'm not even talking about the rest of your career, at least for 10 years. So that's one thing. I think it's very they just purely treat it as a career, and the other thing is they wanted to get a paper published so quickly. It's this they treat it as almost like a fast food, almost treat it as a fast food. Okay, so it's. They wanted to get a paper, one paper, two paper, counting papers. I met some PhD students, not mine, okay? 1 year, 12 papers. I don't even know how the person can, of course, I admire the person, it's highly productive. And I just think 12 papers 1 year as a PhD student, I don't know. Maybe some people like it, but it's not my cup of tea. I prefer someone who will, first of all, have a true passion about a topic, he or she is studying, and second, to really study this topic, need to do some, for example, talk to managers, right? Not just read the papers, to do some company visits and to talk to the manager, to understand the phenomenon, and read the books, maybe not just the management, some topic may be related to social science, maybe some related to the political science, maybe just but when I do a topic, I will read everything I know on this topic. I do not set a boundary for myself. I only read this one only read the management papers. So, for example, when I did a paper on the social trust, I read everything about that. I read about 200 papers related to social trust. That's not all in the management, not all in management literature.
This was very insightful. Thank you so much, Jane. What's the question I should have asked you but didn't?
I think you asked asked good questions. Actually, as a result, I think I know myself better. And I think if anything, I would say it's maybe that I wouldn't say it's a question, but there may be two things. I think for younger scholars, I think based on my experience, I think because due to the specific time period I grew up, so I told you I'm not ambitious at all, right? I was had no clear goals. Okay, I just tried to make the best choice based on the choices I have. But I think nowadays it's very different, right? So young scholars, they have lots of choice. So I think, first of all, I think they should be ambitious. I think they set high goals, because I know where your goals high, so you're likely you can achieve more. For scholars of like my age, okay, like or my cohort or my friends or colleagues, I think it's one thing I learned is I think it's don't set any limitations to yourself. So that's something I learned, and I think it's often your potential is beyond your imagination.
Interesting. Thank you so much for your time. This was very helpful. I learned a lot. I'm sure the audience will agree with me. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.